For this final episode of the year 2021, I am talking about 3 brand new movies, and their titles are Licorice Pizza, West Side Story, and The King's Man. First up is Licorice Pizza. I have been so hyped for this movie for so long because it really feels like my vibe. Everything about this movie just screamed, Charlie's gonna enjoy this movie. And spoilers, I did enjoy the hell out of this movie. The basic premise is it is about this young adult woman who befriends this very charismatic adult-like teenager, and it's just sort of a romance, but it's complicated and messy. But yeah, I loved a lot about this movie. The 2 main leads did incredible. I love them both so much. And then like every single supporting character did incredible. Like the chemistry just everywhere just clicked and worked so well. I love the aesthetic a lot, especially everything Aaliyah wore. She looked great the entire movie. In particular, her purple pants. I want those purple pants. Assuming they're not bell bottoms. I don't really want bell bottoms, but like that color and cut, like, yes, please. Bradley Cooper's part in this movie is basically a cameo, but it's incredible. Even the stuff you saw in the trailer. And then like Sean Penn, who I'm normally not a big fan of, he was terrific in this. So much about this movie worked. The part of the movie I'm kind of the most fuzzy on is the ending/messaging of the movie, because I don't entirely get it. I think it's a commentary on Hollywood's way of making us okay with very inappropriate relationships, because there is at least a 10-year age difference between the 2 characters, with one of them being a teenager, and it's definitely an inappropriate relationship. But that's kind of the point of this movie, I think. Hollywood likes to just kind of gloss over that stuff. I don't know, I literally just got back from watching this movie, and I still need time to completely process it. I still ranked it really dang high. I think just in time, I might end up even moving it up more, especially upon a rewatch. I definitely recommend it. It is a terrific movie. Great everything. It just nails it. I love it. It's just a wonderful little movie. Next up is West Side Story. This is Steven Spielberg's hotly anticipated film. And no surprise, Steven Spielberg knows how to make a movie. It's a beautifully told rendition of Shakespeare's story. Like, pretty much everything about this movie works. I in particular love the visuals, with my favorite scene of the movie being when the 2 main characters finally meet at the school dance. It was such a trip. It was something else. Just like the way they made them stand out amongst the crowd was just cool. You kind of feel like you know how they did it, but it also feels like they did something else to make it extra special. I don't know. It was really interesting. And of course, the singing was amazing. I think my favorite song was probably the one with the Jets in the police station. That one was just a lot of fun, though America is right up there as one of my other favorites. That being said, it did feel a little long, and I feel like you could have easily cut like that Jet song, but again, it is my favorite song, so. All right, that's it for positives though, because I need to go on a rant. Yeah. So going into this movie, I knew that Steven Spielberg decided to not subtitle the Spanish in this movie. And I'm like, well, that's dumb. And after watching this movie, I feel my point is solidified, that that was a very, very dumb choice. Now, I think the choice to include Spanish in the movie was smart. It makes a lot of sense. It makes the characters feel more real. Characters who would naturally speak another language should speak that other language. Makes total sense. I love it. Now, Spielberg decided to not subtitle the Spanish because he's like, it gives an advantage to English. That in this movie, it's kind of Spanish versus English. And if we subtitle the Spanish, then it gives an advantage to the English. And I'm like, well, that's dumb. What I would say that really does is first diminishes the value of the entire culture by turning a language into an aesthetic. It turns it into just background noise. Some people argue that like you still can get the gist of what they're saying without the subtitles, that the original didn't have subtitles, so it's not a big deal that this one didn't. And that The Godfather didn't have subtitles. First off, The Godfather is the exception to the rule. All movies should have subtitles if they're speaking a different language, especially if the characters on screen that are supposed to be understanding and getting in the mindset of understand the language that's being spoken. Also, it's been a while since I've seen The Godfather. They probably should have just done subtitles. It's whatever. Both The Godfather and the original version of this were made in a time in which they didn't subtitle foreign language. If there was any foreign language in the film, it just was either immediately translated translated into English by someone else, or it was just Hollywood being racist Hollywood. It's not a good example of it. The only times back then that they subtitled foreign languages when it was an actual foreign language film from a different country. So those two examples are dumb. Thirdly, the first one I said about how like you can still understand what they're saying. Yes, you can. You can get the general idea of what they're saying. But the same thing is true if you were to mute a movie. Yes, I can understand what is happening in Star Wars when I don't have the sound on, but I don't truly deeply understand everything that's going on. Now, obviously, the best way to completely understand a foreign language film is to be completely fluent in that language. But if you're gonna gatekeep and be like the only way you can appreciate foreign language films is if you are fluent in that language, that's really dumb. There are an absurd amount of languages in the world. People want to make movies in those languages, and they should be able to be appreciated in other languages as well. Thankfully, we have this crazy invention called writing, in which we can read stuff, and I'm thankfully literate. So it's really, really easy to help out people like me who don't speak every language in the world to then understand what they're saying in another language. It's just dumb. So yes, I do get the general idea of what those characters are saying, but I don't fully understand those characters. And by not putting subtitles on the screen, I can't fully understand those characters as best as we should be able to. So instead of keeping Spanish and English on an equal grounds, it's giving advantage to the English because I can understand those people way more than I can understand the Spanish-speaking people. It's just really, really dumb. That feels like a boomer's idea of like American first perspective, and it's really dumb. I just hate it because like this is a really, really, really good movie. I easily could have put it in the really like category, but this stupid decision to not put any frickin' subtitles on it just killed me. Like every single time I was like, there's gonna be a lot of Spanish in the scene and I'm not gonna know what's going on, and that's gonna be really frustrating. And then I was correct, that exact thing happened. And it's like, I wanna understand these characters. I love the choice of having lots of Spanish in this movie. I wish there would have been more Spanish in this movie. I also wish a lot of the Spanish-speaking characters would have been speaking English, because that's something that a lot of the racist white people said. That's almost a commentary on how like the Puerto Ricans are almost being racist to themselves by making themselves speak English when they're just amongst themselves. That's potentially not the intention of it, but it's just dumb. I just hate it. It's just stupid. Just put stupid subtitles in this movie, you stupid old boomer. Nah. Even with all that though, it's a great movie. I still recommend it. I'm just peeved. Let's leave it at that. And lastly is The Kingsman. This is a prequel to the other two Kingsman movies set like 100 years beforehand. I've been pretty jazzed about it. I like the other two Kingsman movies. They're pretty good. This one was pretty good. I wouldn't say it's as good. It's not quite as spy-y as the other two are, but I still enjoyed it. It didn't get the best reviews, but it was just kind of like dumb fun, which is sort of what the other ones are. This one's just a little bit more dumb. And I pretty much agree with all of the criticisms that I've heard about this movie. Like Rasputin should have been like the main bad guy. By the way, his whole action scene is incredible. He has a very unique way of fighting, and I loved it a lot. It's almost like a turn your brain off movie. If you're a big fan of the other two Kingsman movies, I would recommend it. Again, it's not up to the same quality, but it's still a good fun time. So I'd say if you're interested, just don't get your hopes up, but you're in for a decent time. Alrighty, now for today's final rankings. Alright, first up we got Licorice Pizza sitting at number 7 in the really like section. And then after that is West Side Story sitting at number 44 in the quite like section. And then bringing up the rear is The Kingsman sitting at number 67 in the like section. And this is out of a total of 92 new movies this year, and that brings the grand total out of all the movies I've seen this year up to 366. Damn right, I watched 366 movies this year. Technically though, there are 34 movies that I watched that don't count, so if we're being pedantic about it, I actually watched 400 movies this year. Oh my god. That is like if in the month of February, I did literally nothing else besides just watch movies. Like no sleeping, no eating, no moving. It's just movies 24 hours a day for 28.25 5 days. That is technically what this year has been. And I love it. I wouldn't change a thing. The other day I was like, oh man, with the new year I could like slow down if I really wanted to, or like I don't have to keep doing this if I really don't feel like it. And then like an hour later I was like looking at some movies and like, oh man, I really wanted to watch that this year. And oh yeah, this one too. And I'm just like, there's just so many movies. I'm just like, I wish I would have watched more movies this year. And I'm like, I watched 400 movies this year. What am I saying? There is no way in hell that I am slowing down. I love watching movies. This is great. I love my life. This is the best. Please give me more movie recommendations. I never want to stop.